Sandbag training is bodybuilding on autopilot. If I had to start all over again with strength training or bodybuilding, I would do many things differently. Different from what I did and very different from what I've read in books and from what I've heard of recommendations from successful athletes. Have you ever asked yourself why there are so many training programs and plans and everyone claims their way is the best? Could it be that there is no one correct answer? Or is it maybe much simpler than people are trying to make you believe? I say the latter is the case. I do strength training. I would not call myself a bodybuilder because with that I associate a focus on mass instead of strength and the training of muscles instead of movements. Still, I want to build my body, and in this context, the line between strength training and bodybuilding gets blurry. Before I describe what I would do differently, I have to explain what I did in the first place. So, for how long have I been doing this? Even though I had practiced the foundational movements like the deadlift, squat and bench press for about 10 years at that point, I had nothing in mind but health and general movement ability. I had never really thought about building strength or muscle mass. That changed a few years ago. You could say I got a taste for blood and saw the necessity for more strength and better developed musculature. Since then, I've been training almost every day and I've learned the whole vocabulary of effective exercises. Add to that the training splits, whole body, upper, lower, push, pull legs, the bro split, rest days, deload weeks, periodization and all that stuff. Learning all that is not necessary at all, but it's not the part that I would do differently today. You really don't have to know all these things, but they can help you if you want to find your own best way and to understand and solidify your path. What did I gain? I've become much stronger in general. My posture has improved a lot, and I'm lifting higher and higher weights. But what about muscle development, mass gains? Excellent results. In the first year, I gained about 10 kilos of fat-free mass, 5 kilos in the second year, and 2 or 3 in the third year. In my mid-40s, without steroids, that's pretty good. And how did I achieve this? My beginnings of this phase started in the deepest winter in my living room. Weights in that first period of time were just heavy books. At some point, I switched to dumbbells. Whole body training every morning and a second workout in the afternoon. After 4 to 6 weeks, I began to scour the classifieds for used weights and other equipment. Looked into the most popular training splits and decided for PPL, push, pull, legs. I keep the training notes and plans to this day. I did every set to muscle failure. That's why my rep numbers would vary quite a bit across sets. But there was a clear progression. I basically did most of the exercises you can do with dumbbells. Deadlift, squat, shoulder press, floor press, Bulgarian squat, Romania deadlift, row, lateral raise, tricep extensions and all the other stuff. Every few weeks I sat down to think about my next training plan. How can I use my muscles in the best order with this training split? Work on all muscles in the best way. How do I combine the exercises and order them so that I can keep up during the week and use the time most efficiently? This always introduced a certain amount of uncertainty and questions and cost me a lot of time. That is what I would do differently if I had to start over again. I would barely think about the training plan. I would ditch most exercises. And I would not care to think much about the training split, isolation of muscles and their ideal range of motion, stimulation, sets and reps and sets per week. It can be much, much simpler, and I will explain how and why the goal of more muscle and strength can be achieved not only easier, but more thoroughly. Sandbag training is bodybuilding on autopilot, and I will show you why that is. Spoiler alert, the weights will be just as heavy. But first, an excursion. Why strength training? Once again, I could talk about the many health benefits of strength training. Metabolic health, hormone health, an improved immune system, mental health, and so forth. Those are great reasons to me. And of course, being strong, a very good reason. You know my mantra, strength training is non-negotiable. Instead, I will name one of the most frequent reasons. Looks. I don't know a single human being who does not want to look as good as possible. Almost everyone looks into the mirror, brushes their hair, washes their face. Many people use makeup or constantly search their wardrobe for the best outfit. If you have a booger hanging out of your nose, you feel uncomfortable. Most people like well-shaped bodies. Well-developed, defined muscles are beautiful. And I'm not talking about extreme cases with single-digit body fat, just athletic bodies like those seen in many sports like basketball, tennis, or of course track and field. They look good. No one should be ashamed for working out just to look good naked. I don't know anyone who likes walking around with 5 kilos of fat on their stomach. And I can understand that because I found that feeling uncomfortable too. Sadly, there is a line between those who admit that they work out for looks and those who find that superficial, or at least claim they would never do that because they find it superficial. But what is so bad about superficiality? The whole world, every aspect of nature depends on superficiality. A predator appears on the horizon and the prey runs away. The prey is not going to ask the predator first if he's capable or if he's hungry at all. First impressions count. Superficiality saves lives. There is nothing wrong with caring about looks as long as that's not all that matters to you. So, strength training to look good naked. Don't fool yourself. Again and again I have met people who were overweight and who claimed their figure was good enough for them, or that a better shape wasn't important to them, only to envy someone else's lean body just 5 minutes later, or to secretly work out for a flat belly or a six-pack. More power to you. Seriously, that's the right instinct. And don't let anyone fool you. You don't have to be embarrassed if you want to have a six-pack. Everyone is allowed to have a six-pack and everyone can have a six-pack. There's always a way, even though for some it might be a bit more difficult. Strength training is an excellent tool on the path to this goal, and not negotiable if you want to live a healthy life. Be as sexy, toned, and muscular as you want to be. It's okay. Be aware that it's okay if the way you look is important to you, and also be aware that there are also other things in life. What I would do differently. My goal is to be as strong as possible, have strong and well-defined muscles, and to get all the countless health benefits that come with that. To get there, there's one simple way: sandbag training. Strength training is inevitable. There's no way around strength training, but there is a way around set and rep numbers, elaborate training plans, and endless thoughts about training splits. All you need is training with a heavy sandbag. That's bodybuilding on autopilot. Why? Don't you have to stimulate every muscle in the most ideal way, look at exact weights and rep numbers and perfect form in order to achieve ideal hypertrophy? What about the exact duration of every single rep, the specific alignment of a cable machine and its advantages compared to a dumbbell? Not important. You can do that, it doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary. If you ignore the typical strength training and bodybuilding mantra and just work out with a heavy sandbag, what happens? How do you target specific muscles like the biceps, triceps, or pecs? You don't. And that's good. The traditional bodybuilding mantra allows for the focus on hypertrophy of individual muscles. It is possible and widespread to pump your upper body and leave your legs out of the equation, or to focus on superficially visible shapes and not think about functionally important stabilizing muscles. That way you can reach the aesthetic goal. You could even grow stronger. But it increases the risk of injury, massively decreases functionality, and leaves lots of gains on the table. Looks like a pretty bad deal. Lots of thought, effort, and work for a limited superficial change. What about traditional strength training, powerlifting for example? Why not just bench press, squat, and deadlift? That way you stay functional. There's two major concepts that differentiate strength training and bodybuilding. Number one, the bodybuilder exercises muscles. The powerlifter practices movements. Number two, the bodybuilder makes his training as difficult as possible, stressing the individual muscle to its maximum. The powerlifter tries to make lifts as easy as possible, distributing the load on as many muscles and joints as possible. The powerlifter often does not conform to the ideal of maximum hypertrophy and might also miss the aesthetic goal. The price he pays is an often pretty elaborate and well thought out training, including occasional injuries. Traditional bodybuilding, strength training on machines, is a beaten path with asphalt on it, signposts and road signs and a snack machine in comfortable intervals. It's a safe thing, not an adventure. No actual journey, but rather, at least to me, pretty tiring and somehow mechanical, just checking off boxes someone else drew up. Somehow I like going back to school, spending months in English class learning about the difference between nominative and accusative case, only to end up with 4 Latin terms floating around in your head that does absolutely nothing for how you actually speaks. Am I going to tell you that the Sandbag combines the advantages of both concepts, bodybuilding and powerlifting, without any disadvantage? Certainly not. There's always a catch. If you train with a Sandbag, you have to expect this. 1. A Sandbag is always heavy. Working with it is always hard. 2. With a Sandbag, you cannot target individual muscles. You cannot make your bicep grow all alone. 3. The visible result you're looking for might come later. Spoiler, other visible results will come. The right ones. Sandbag training requires patience. That means Sandbag training works outside of the comfort zone, physically and mentally. A Sandbag is less controllable physically, and the results cannot be controlled as much. Sandbag training requires you to give up control. That can be healing. Less control means less ballast. These 3 challenges are the price you have to pay if you train with a Sandbag. And what do you get for that price? The fusion of 2 worlds. How can the Sandbag unite the strengths of bodybuilding and powerlifting? Working with a Sandbag is always hard. That makes it similar to a core concept of bodybuilding, making it as hard as possible. At the same time, the Sandbag prevents you from a focus on individual muscles. Instead, it always makes you exercise whole movements and muscle chains. That mirrors a principle of powerlifting. Sandbag training is the epitome of what we used to call functional training, which rightfully has become an often criticized term, but that is a topic for a different video. If you've been paying close attention, you have heard me say working with a Sandbag is always hard. I hope that made you wonder. Isn't the goal of strength training to get stronger so a specific weight will appear less heavy to lift? That is correct. What I mean is, working out with a Sandbag feels hard for a lot longer than it does with dumbbells. And there is a weight class that, as my dear colleague Cody Jenko from the Stone Circle says, stays forever heavy. The reason for this seemingly slow progress, this endless heaviness, is not at all proof that Sandbag training doesn't work. Quite the opposite. The Sandbag forces you to train muscles that few bodybuilders pay attention to, and that even in dedicated so-called functional barbell work, deadlift, squat and bench press for example, often take the back seat. How does the Sandbag do that? There are several reasons. The first is easiest to explain. The heavier the Sandbag, the bigger it gets. Unlike a barbell, you don't get to grip the same bar diameter in the same position at the same distance to your body, no matter if it weighs 60 or 260 kilos. A bigger Sandbag requires more effort to hug and grip, more stimulus for all muscles along the chain. Holding a barbell is always relatively easy. It is supposed to be. The center of mass can be kept close to the body. The barbell makes lifting weight easy. That is the exact reason why a lifter who can easily deadlift 160 kilos will often have serious difficulty on his first attempts lifting a 60 kilo Sandbag. Conversely, even the most experienced powerlifter will realize after a few months of serious Sandbag work, everything else feels easier now. The right way to more strength and muscle. It is these characteristics of the Sandbag that lead to the second big advantage of Sandbag training and to the ultimate point of this video. Training with a Sandbag leads you to your exact right path to more strength and muscle. This path looks different for everyone. The Sandbag knows what you need. You might not know it, and maybe it is way down on your wish list. But if you need more grip strength or stronger adduction for your arms, then the Sandbag will give you that first. Big biceps? Those might have to wait, but usually not for very long. The most important Sandbag exercises require a strong core. That's pecs, obliques, upper and lower back. If you lack strength in those areas and the corresponding muscle chain, your show muscles in arms and legs will have to be patient. The advantage? The Sandbag forces you to train with a low risk from injuries compared to barbells. The core muscles mentioned are precisely those that give you stability and resilience and that most training devices do not stimulate nearly enough. I have explained the details in a past video about internal and external torque. Working with a barbell, but even more with exercise machines, allows you to move heavy weights without developing the whole muscle chain that would actually be necessary. The Sandbag, I repeat, gets larger as it gets heavier. The center of gravity moves away from the body. The sand shifts differently. You need a different grip, push in a different way, have less to hold on to. Just the way things are in nature, where the human body evolved. The Sandbag does not give you what you want, at least not right away, but it gives you what you need. As for me, Sandbag training gave me massive gains in both strength and muscle. Not where I wished for, though, but definitely where it serves me and minimizes my risk of injury, and that is clearly visible on my body. I like it. Sandbag training, bodybuilding on autopilot. I enjoy all these advantages and gains without a thought about sets and reps and higher weights, any training splits or timing during the range of motion. I just grab the Sandbag, do my 3 or 4 exercises and do those as much as I can. Not every day, but almost. That is simple. It is hard, but simple. And it doesn't cost much. 1 or 2 suitable Sandbags cost less than a gym membership for 4 to 6 months. Simultaneously, the Sandbag gives me full flexibility, a huge selection of exercises just in case I want to practice sport-specific movements, for example for powerlifting, basketball, or, in my case, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Another win is a topic I listed under disadvantages. I am forced to leave my elected idealized path. I turn this decision over to the Sandbag. It shows me the way. That has an impact on my spirit, my mindset. I have to give up the eternal torturing question, am I doing this right? That we all encounter during our daily lives, in relationships, when setting boundaries, or in raising kids. In the end, all will be good. If it is not good, it is not the end. If you're wondering which exercises should I do for bodybuilding on autopilot, you might want to have a look at my free guide to Sandbag training. There's a link in the video description. It is a clearly structured course with all the important exercises. For now, though, it is only available in German. If you need an English guide, don't hesitate to have a look at Cody's excellent Sandbag training guide and books. Our approaches are a bit different, but you can trust Cody to put out great, well thought out and beautifully made releases. Thanks for listening. See you soon.